Ground the mind. Good. Soften the belly. The belly's going to be sort of pressing against the thighs for most of us. But notice the abdomen just softly meeting the resistance of the legs and expanding into the back body. So we're just inviting a little bit of stretch in the back. You can subtly begin to engage the lower abdomen. We refer to this at least as partial Uddiyana Bandha. Uddiyana means to fly upwards. So we're directing this downward current of energy, Appana. We're beginning to motivate, stimulate the rise of Kundalini energy through the chakras, awakening the serpent at the base of the spine, the Kundalini serpent. Good. As it uncoils and rises up, really what we're doing is we're stimulating this nervous system energy. So let's take another deep breath in. Full breath out. Just slowly begin to walk the hands over to your left. So you might take one hand back, maybe the right hand over to the left, so you get that stretch, that opening through the right side of your body. And then see if you can kind of lift your torso and shift it over towards the left thigh. So as if you're trying to sort of roll your navel towards that left leg. So the rib cage, you're drawing the right ribs in towards the spine, and this will give you a little bit more stretch and opening through the right side of your body. And we'll just take a couple of breaths here. Lift the head, walk the hands gently over to the other side. So opening up the left side body this time. So I usually take my right hand next to me, and that just helps me to shift at the rib cage and roll the belly over towards the right thigh, extending that left arm. And again, you can just keep the left arm in front of you, depending on the shoulder. Good. This is shoulder flexion. So breathing in, allow the breath to kind of move into the left side of your body. Inhale, lift the head, lift the heart. Walk the hands back to center. Good. And then resting, if possible, resting the head on the floor. You can also keep the head up and just rest the rib cage against your thighs. We're going to extend the arms behind us. This is for a little shoulder extension. If possible, interlacing the fingers behind the back. And this is why I have a sort of resting the head on the ground. You can also do this just extending your whole body, belly down on your mat, resting the forehead, or taking the chin out in front of you for a little neck extension, right? But if you're in child's pose, we're going to release the head. And then very gently, I'm extending the arms first, then extending the shoulders by lifting the arms, the hands up towards the sky, and then gently pressing the heel of the hand towards each other, not touching necessarily. Thumbs touching, just as if you had you were cradling a tennis ball in your hands, for example. And just take a couple breaths. It might be a little bit more challenging breathing into the chest. Exhale, release the arms. We're going to, or release the hands to your sacrum. We're going to shift the interlace of the fingers. Probably the hardest part of this morning's practice. Good. Rest the forehead. Good. If you can, lift the hands off your back, extend the elbows. And then try not to lock the elbows, just extend those elbows. So you're working with the triceps here, the back of the upper arm. And then extend the shoulders, reaching the fists, the knuckles towards the sky. Again, without pulling on the shoulders, right? But just really broadening the chest, finding a little stretch across the front of the shoulders. And exhale, gently release. Beautiful. Good. Last week's class was the wrist class, so we're going to come up to hands and knees. Good, and then very gently spin the right hand out and back. Good, so just a little stretch for the forearm. Try not to lock the elbow, so I want to kind of lift the elbow. I'm pressing through the pads of my fingers and thumb. The heel of the hand does not have to be all the way down on the floor. It's kind of stretching gently towards the floor, and then pull up on the elbow and drop the shoulder. Good, and just get a little stretch and then gently release. And you can do a little counter flexion, a little stretch in the back of the wrist and then release. Spin the left hand out to the left. Again, fingers, thumbs, either pointing out if it's too much for the wrist or back if possible. And again, we're widening the carpal tunnel of the wrist. Good, pressing into the pads of the fingers and the thumb. Gently extend the elbow, drop the shoulder, extend and lift a little bit so you're not sinking into your joints. And then a little flexion, wrist flexion. I'm just going to take the fingers back with the palm face up, pull up on the elbow, little wrist stretch. Good, and gently release. Cat, cow. So all we're doing here is moving around. So you can move in any way that feels appropriate to you. I'm just going to start with a little spinal extension and flexion of the neck. Spinal flexion or cat pose and neck extension by looking up towards the top of your mat and off the tip of the nose. Good. Inhale, transition, cow pose. Good. Lifting and draw the chin to the throat. So while you're releasing the spine, you're stretching the neck, and now while you're stretching the back, you're releasing the neck by looking up or looking out towards the front of the mat, then off the tip of the nose. Good. So these 9 gazing points, they really kind of help build vagus nerve resiliency, right? Which is just really helping build that relaxation response in the body. Release some of the stress. Good, little cat pose here. Good, gaze off the tip of the nose, head is rising. And then a little extension of the spine, cow pose, saddle back. Good, and chin to the throat. Look towards the navel. And inhale. Let's just circle out the hips. Good. And I'm just bringing a little bit of movement into the rib cage. Feel free to come onto your forearms. Good. And then if you'd like to, a little circling out of the head and neck. Nice and slow, right? So you don't make yourself dizzy. Pause, reverse the roll, start with the hips. Add the rib cage, maybe a little bit of forward and back movement, side to side movement. Without thinking about it too much, see if you can just add a little head roll, and it might be really tiny, really small. You don't have to. Good, it's just bringing that quality of water, right, the second chakra element into flow. Good, gently release. Let's take puppy pose. I'm going to start by just flexing the toes. You can take the forearms to the ground here. You can also extend the arms out in front of you. So I bring the hips a little forward of the knees for puppy pose. Take the hands out in front of you. Press into the hands, so the whole periphery of the palm. Pull up on those elbows. Integrate the shoulders so you don't want to sink into the shoulders and the lower back or kidneys. Good. I'm hooking the big toe, getting a little stretch through the ball of the foot, and then just reaching back. And if possible, resting the forehead on a block or on the ground. So we get this flexion in the shoulders, this extension in the spine before we move into downward facing dog. So a couple breaths. It's just a nice heart opening pose. Stretching back through the hips, reaching forward through the fingers. Good, broadening the chest. Good, we're opening up the channels of lymph flow sort of in the armpit. And then inhale. Good, you can walk the hands back a tiny bit here. Now shift your hips back and let's take downward dog, driving down through the feet. We'll take a few sun salutations just to kind of get our half-hour practice going this morning. So again, let's pedal out the legs a little bit here just to kind of bring some movement, right? All the way from the ball of the foot and the toes. Good, up through the calves. So shins rising, calves lengthening down through the heels. Kneecaps. So kneecap of the straight leg is lifting, the quad is engaging, and the back of the leg, right now, of the straight leg is lengthening down, the front of the leg lifting up. Good. So we have energy rising and energy flowing down, the yin and the yang. Beautiful. And just kind of feel into whatever downward facing dog shape feels appropriate to your body this morning. Take a few breaths. Either looking back between the toes, between the knees, or towards the navel. And then gazing forward, inhale, the heels rise. Exhale, the knees bend, hips back, and begin to saunter or step the feet towards your hands. Good, you might soften the knees a little bit to begin with. Let's take a little ragdoll pose. So shifting the weight forward in the ball of the foot, lift the heart, lift the gaze a little, or the head, gazing off the nose. And then exhale, so just take the navel towards the knees and exhale, release the torso around your thighs, and you can take opposite hand to elbow or hand to opposite elbow. Good, and release the head, release the arms. Let the shoulders hang towards the ears so you get this length in the spinal muscles. And just take a couple breaths. You might begin to straighten the legs if that feels appropriate to you. So again, the weight's a little forward in the ball of the foot, but I'm going to step into the center of each heel and pull up on my kneecaps, lifting through the lower belly so I'm not rounding the back if you're beginning to straighten those legs. So the legs super active here so you're not pulling on the tendons of the hamstrings or the lower back. And then inhale, release the hands, lift the gaze. You might soften the knees and root to rise, arms to the sky. Good, gather consciousness, gather the mind. Good, gather the speech, the internal narratives, the storytelling, and take the hands to the heart, Anahata. Experiential intelligence. Release the arms by your sides. Inhale, arms to the sky. Exhale, fold, hinging from the hips, fingertips to a chair, to the earth. Release the head, release the neck. Inhale, lift the heart. Good. Lunge the left leg back. Soften the front knee. And we're just going to take a couple of stretches here so you can lower the back and you stretch out the toes. Ardha Hanumanasana. Shifting the hips back. Anjaneyasana, Mother of Hanuman. Little kneeling lunge. Good. Inhale. So it's a little bit like a cat-cow, right? So here's our cat stretch, rounding the back. And then shifting the hips forward. Lead from the center back of the pelvis. Anjaneyasana, little hip opening, heart opening here. One more time. Beautiful. Hands to the earth. Inhale, hips back a little, tuck the toes of the back foot, straighten the back leg, or keep the knee on the ground and just step that right leg back. High plank or kneeling high plank. Take a deep breath in. I like to just do a couple things here for the abdomen. Rise up onto your toes if you can and billow the back like you're trying to create a bridge. A little hard on the wrists. It's going to start to gather energy into the arms, the legs, and the abdomen. And one more time. Deep breath in, billow the back. And exhale, let's just take it right back into downward dog or take your knees down and child's pose. Good. Just take a couple of breaths. A little short form practice this morning. Lift the gaze, lift the heels, shift the weight forward. Exhale, soften the knees and step. Saunter the feet forward towards the hands. Inhale, half lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, bow. Again, soften the knees as needed so the pelvis can tip forward, the spine can fall, the head can hang. Root to rise, arms to the sky. Beautiful. Exhale, arms by your sides. Inhale, sweep high. Exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, left leg back. This time we're going to keep the back leg straight. You can also just do what we did before, knee on the ground. Step into the front heel this time, dialing that right hip back. Good. Inhale, come into your lunge. So if you'd like to, right the knees on the ground, and here's your Anjaneyasana. Ardha Hanumanasana. Stretching that front leg. Dial the hip back. One more time, deep breath in. Exhale. Inhale forward. Maybe you have a nice lunge here. Good. If not, straighten the back leg, hands to the earth. Exhale, step the right leg back, high plank or lower the knees, right? So kneeling, high plank. Just make sure you're not sinking if the knees are on the ground. So you can get that sense of lift. Beautiful. This time, we're going to either keep the legs straight, right, or knees on the ground, and keeping the toes on the floor, just allow your pelvis, your hips to move forward and your heart to move up. If you'd like to, moving into upward dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. So it might have been like a cobra with the legs or the thighs on the floor. Breathing in a couple of breaths. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Lifting the gaze, lift the heels, shift the weight forward. Exhale, bend the knees. Good. Walk, step, saunter the feet to your hands. Half lift. Breathe in. Exhale and bow. Engage the legs, the knees if they're straight. And root to rise. Last sun salutation. Good. Inhale, sweep high. Exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift. Good. Lunge back to a high push-up or a little float. And this time we'll lower down to the earth. Feel free to use your knees if you need to. So I've got my toes flexed here. Taking my hands back. Shoulders dialed back a little bit, again without pulling on the shoulders. And we're just going to use our toes to rock forward and back. Good. Just get a little chi flow, right, through the central axis of the body, the spine. So I'm looking off the tip of the nose, so the neck is also long. Beautiful. Good, and stretch the toes. My legs are I'm gonna dial my legs in, press the sacrum to the floor, shoulders back. Inhale, use your back muscles to lift the torso. Good. Slide the shoulder blades down the back. Inhale, lift the back a little bit more. I'm actually keeping the legs on the ground. Lift the torso a little bit more. No hands right now. We're trying to really activate those back muscles. One more time, deep breath in. Good. Exhale, extend the arms. Inhale, lift the heart. Good. And then exhale, downward facing dog. Beautiful. And just take a few breaths. Inhale, find that length in your spine and your back body. Good. From the breath, gather energy in the lower belly. Send it to the heart. Release the head. Nice. And we're going to start by taking that left leg out behind us, three-legged dog. I'm going to keep the leg parallel to begin with. So hips are as square as possible. That right heel might have to come off the floor because it's a much deeper stretch now in the calf and possibly the hamstrings. Good. Inhale, extend. Bring the leg through for pigeon, one-legged pigeon. Ekapada Rajakapotasana. So I'm using my left foot. Left knee to left wrist. Left foot comes forward. I'm going to slide this back leg, the right leg back. I want this front foot to evert so the sole side of the foot rolls up towards the ceiling. Good. And that right hip comes towards that left heel. And then very gently, I'm keeping the back leg straight to begin with and lowering the forearms to the floor. Good. And you can just kind of rock a little bit towards the left hip and then roll towards the right hip. Watch that left knee when you do this. We're just trying to get into that left hip a little bit. Again, just finding that element of water in your body. Really nice. And I want to just kind of square the hips. Good. We want a little bit, we want to really kind of create some form in the young practice, right? To contain, to create a container for the energy that we're exploring here. So notably that left hip. Take a deep breath in. If you'd like to, you can take the torso forward, rest the forehead on your hands or the floor, the mat. We'll take one more breath and then build up to the namesake of this pose. So we start right by opening the front of this right hip, getting into the left outer hip, creating some space across the left sacrum, and then very gently lifting the head, lifting the torso. We're going to walk the hands back towards that left knee, left foot, right? Press into the hands. So, press into the hands, and then as you drop the shoulders, it's going to automatically invite the chest to kind of rise and lift. Brain drifting back, gaze off the tip of the nose. So here's one possibility. Something else that I like to do is to roll over onto that left hip a little bit so I can reach around and take that right foot maybe, right? You can also do this with if you have a wall behind you. Again, it takes a little bit of a setup, but just kind of rolling towards the left hip, rolling towards the right hip, right? And again, if you want a little bit more stretch in the thigh, in that back thigh and the hip, same thing. I'm just going to bring the heel towards the outside of the hip and roll towards the inner knee, roll towards the, not really outer knee, but just to kind of get all, so quadriceps, right? There's 4 muscles in the front of that leg, that right leg. So we're just kind of playing around with that a little bit. If you want to, take a breath, lift the heart, exhale, see if you can let go, release, soften inside, right? And gently release. Very lovely. Inhale, lift. So engage the back leg, lift, and slide that left leg back. Good. Find your downward dog or hands and knees, and this time we'll take the right leg out behind us. So again, trying to keep the hips square. Feel free to play around a little bit if that feels, good for your hips. But otherwise, we're going to try to keep a little squareness. Lift the gaze, and we're going to bring that right knee through this time. Right for pigeon pose on the other side. Right knee to right wrist, right foot to left wrist. Good. I'm going to keep the extension of the back leg as I lower the hips towards the floor. And let's start by coming onto our forearms. I'm still keeping the back leg extended. Find some space and length through the whole left side of your body. Good. And then roll towards the right hip, roll towards the left hip. Good. Just kind of, again, just finding, again, you just want to watch the knee, but just finding some space, feeling into sensation, and then just find that quality of stillness. Release that left leg, stretch the toes. Maybe take the head to the top hand. Couple breaths. Inhale, lift the head. We're going to start to shift into the namesake of the pose, puffing up the chest, right, of the pigeon, the royal pigeon. So taking the hands in, under the shoulders, and then rooting down to get, you want to get that, so the pelvis is tipping forward. You are using the natural curve of the lumbar spine, supporting that, right, by drawing the navel, the lower ribs in, and finding that lift. This might be just beautiful right here. Otherwise, you can kind of shift a little bit towards the right and then bring that left foot up to take the left foot and then come back to center. And I'm pressing the foot into the hand to begin with, right? So just kind of feeling into this position, right? So we kind of come more and more so into the namesake of the pose, and then again, to the extent that your left thigh or knee might permit, and or hip, we're going to bring that left foot heel in towards the outer hip. Same thing, just kind of roll towards the right hip, roll towards the left hip a little bit. I'm moving the foot towards the outside. So ironically, this is a pose that's actually recommended for the knee, As long as you keep directing the heel of that folded leg, again, it doesn't have to be folded all the way, but to the outside of the hip, right? And just watch the knee. You're rolling from hip to hip. Good, just to kind of get into all quadrants of the quadricep. And then gently release. Good. So let's take this into a high plank position. Lift out of your posture. Good. High plank to downward facing dog. Just take a couple of breaths. Beautiful. And then from here, let's lower the knees to the floor. We're going to come onto our backs and just complete our practice this morning with a little twist. So lower down. Good. Bringing the head to the floor, make sure that there's curvature in the neck, that there's a little space between the floor and the back of your neck. Beautiful. And we'll just start by taking the right knee in towards the chest. Very lovely. And then from here, just kind of to hook the right foot. I'm going to take the right foot, the toes of the right foot, take it behind the left knee. Good. So my left knee is hooking, right, is kind of binding or keeping the right foot in place. And I'm going to step the left foot, the foot that's on the floor, I'm going to step that wide and just start to lower the knees toward the floor. So I'm just pressing into the inner left heel, inner heel of the back foot. Beautiful. So you're going to start to get a little stretch here through the left side. If you would like to, you can start to roll onto your right side, good, all the way onto your right hip, and you might get this very refined stretch through sort of the sacral and outer hip. Invite the left thigh to roll in and down towards the floor. Good. And then see if you can roll onto the right hip. And that's where you're going to get the stretch. And then let's come back. So I'm going to bring the torso back first, then the knees, releasing the right foot. Good. Bring that left knee into the chest for a moment. Hook the left toes behind the right knee. So the kind of calf is going to, the right knee is going to hook the left foot. Take the right foot wide, so this right knee, when you bring the knees down towards the floor on your left, the right knee is kind of lining up with the hip. You may need to put a little something underneath that left knee. So start by pressing down to the inner back heel, inner right heel, pressing down, flexing the foot so you're protecting that right knee. You're going to get a little stretch across the hip. Then I'm going to roll onto my left arm and onto that left hip and invite that right thigh to draw the hip away from the torso. And for me, it creates this really refined stretch through really the right side of the sacrum and the outer hip and the IT band. It's pretty intense. Good. I'm just kind of drawing this right hip down. Good. So right now I'm just pressing into the toes a little bit, inviting that right thigh to roll in, and then bring the navel and the rib cage back, and you might really feel that refined stretch. If you take that right arm overhead, you might get even more of a stretch. Breathe in. Beautiful. Breathe out. One more. Try to release tension on the exhale. Good. Invite the shoulders to come down to the floor first. Good. Release that left foot, bring the knees up. Really lovely. Good. And you might just windshield wipe the legs again, just releasing tension, moving into the flow, release and flow of energy. Good. Of rigidity in the body as we move into the fluidity of the body. Lovely. And I'm going to invite us to take Shavasana. So feel free to rest here and receive, restore, renew. Good. Shwasti prajabhya paripalayantam nyayena margena mahi mahishaha
Go Brahmanebhyah Shubhamastu Nityam. Loka Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Kale Varsatu Parjanyaha Prithvi Sasya Shalini. Deshoyam Shobarahito Brahmana Santu Nirabayaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May all be well with this world. May we lead by keeping to the right path. May we honor and heal humanity, that all beings everywhere may be free from pain and suffering. May we know this earth to be sacred, that she may yield her fruit in abundance. May this world be free from exploitation and oppression, that the righteous may be free from hatred and fear. Peace, peace, peace. Namaste.